Welcome to the first of two webinars in the series related to inviting proposals for industry university cooperative research centers on terrorism and catastrophic cyber risk insurance, being brought to you by the American Academy of Actuaries, the Academy, the Federal Insurance Office, FIO, and the National Science Foundation, NSF. Thank you for joining us today. I am Lisa Slotsnik, President of the Academy and your moderator. As we start this session, note that I, along with Stephen Seitz from FIO, will be setting the stage with opening remarks prior to introducing our speakers. We'll be saving a lot of time for questions and answers, so please be ready. But first, some housekeeping. Our comments are our own and not made on behalf of the Academy, our employers, or any other organizations. The Academy operates under applicable law, and Academy volunteers annually acknowledge its conflict of interest policy. Also, the program is being recorded and will be released publicly within approximately 3 days of this webinar. The event is not open to the news media. Comments and questions must abide by federal antitrust and other applicable laws. I would like to point out a few tools on your screen that can maximize your viewing engagement experience. The individual windows are resizable and movable, so please feel free to move them around to get the most out of your desktop. You may expand your slide area and the media player by clicking on the arrows in the top right corner of those windows. After the prepared remarks, there will be time for questions and answers. So please, if you have any questions for our speakers, you can submit them through the Q&A engagement tool. Note that your questions will only be seen by the panelists, not by other attendees. You can find a PDF of the slides for today's webinar in the related content tool. That includes this slide with information related to the tools on the screen and our agenda slide. For answers to some common technical issues, visit Help at the bottom of your screen. We invite you to share your input on today's webinar and your ideas for future Academy webinars by clicking on the Take Survey tool on your screen. The Academy, with over 20,000 members, who include consultants, corporate executives and staff, regulators, government officials, academics, and retired actuaries. Their areas of practice cover pensions, life insurance, casualty insurance, health insurance, financial reporting, risk management, and more. Webinars like today's are part of the Academy's service mission to the public and the U.S. actuarial profession. The Academy informs the public of the role and value of actuarial work. We deliver value to our members. We assist policymakers in the formation of sound public policy, as well as set professional standards for U.S. actuaries. The Academy provides comment letters to governmental agencies, like a December 2022 letter to FIO related to potential FIO responses to catastrophic cyber incidents. In addition, the Academy prepares numerous publications and research. An example of the cyber-related publications prepared by the Academy's Committee on Cyber Risk is its ever-growing Cyber Risk Toolkit on the Academy website, covering a range of topics, including the basics of cyber threats, basic insurance product descriptions, data related to these threats, silent cyber, cyber terrorism, autonomous vehicles, and many more. The Academy's most recent discussion of terrorism came in a comment letter also sent to FIO in May of 2022, related to the link between cyber attacks and terrorism, clarifying coverage under TRIA for appropriate cyber attacks. At this point, let me hand this over to Stephen Seitz, FIO's director, who will then hand it over to Shanda Brady, Senior Insurance Regulatory Policy Analyst from FIO, along with Mohan Kumar from NSF. After their prepared remarks, there will be time for questions. Stephen?
No, thank you, Lisa. And let me just confirm that you can hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. No, great. Well, first, just wanted to, on behalf of the Federal Insurance Office, just say that, we really appreciate the work of Lisa and her team at the Academy for hosting today's webinar and their support for our IUCRC, as well as our collaboration with the public and private sector. I'd also like to thank our colleagues at the National Science Foundation for their partnership on this initiative. Particularly, I'd like to thank Mohan Kumar and Jeff Stanton, and you'll be hearing from Mohan later with Shanda Brady from our team. Our colleagues at the NSF have been enormously helpful in launching this IUCRC. This is the first time that the U.S. Treasury Department has formally partnered with NSF. We're excited about this ongoing collaboration, and it's great to see so many people attending today's webinar. Thanks also to our team at the Federal Insurance Office, particularly Shanda Brady for her efforts on taking this important initiative forward. Throughout our work at the Federal Insurance Office, and as Lisa mentioned, we value our engagement with the public and private sector, and we look forward to continuing that collaboration as we move forward with the IUCRC. Just as way of background for the group, the Federal Insurance Office at Treasury monitors all aspects of the insurance industry, including terrorism and cyber insurance issues. This new initiative that we're launching with NSF is an extension of FIO's work administering the Terrorism Risk Insurance Program. And it's also related to our ongoing evaluation of a potential federal insurance response to catastrophic cyber risk. During today's webinar, you'll hear more about why modeling and the underwriting for terrorism and catastrophic cyber risk is challenging for many parts of our sector. These challenges may hinder insurers' ability to adequately estimate financial exposure to both terrorism and catastrophic cyber risk, which can then impede them from fully underwriting these risks to the extent they would most desire. And without sufficient insurance coverage for these risks, the United States may be vulnerable to economic disaster should a catastrophic cyber event or terrorism event occur. This new IUCRC research will benefit the insurance industry and its policyholders. And one of our primary goals of this work is to strengthen the resilience of the U.S. economy by expanding insurance coverage for these risks through improved insurance modeling and underwriting. We're also excited about the potential partnership with academic institutions, which are critical toward advancing our collective knowledge and thought leadership in these important areas. This initiative provides a unique opportunity for the government officials, the private sector, and academia to build together and work in a collective public-private partnership. We appreciate all of your interest in today's presentation, and if we can be of any help to the academic teams that are interested in making connections with industry or proposals, please reach out to our team at FIO. Thank you again for all being here today, and we appreciate your interest in this topic. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Shanda and Mohan for next steps.
All right, thank you so much, Stephen. We will go ahead and kick off our presentation now. So I'm Shanda Brady, a Senior Insurance Regulatory Policy Analyst with the U.S. Treasury Federal Insurance Office, and I will let Mohan introduce himself as well.
Hello, thank you, Shanda, and I'm Mohan Kumar. I'm a Program Officer in the NSF's Industry University Cooperative Research Program. Thank you.
All right, so this is an agenda of what Mohan and I are going to cover. It gives an overview of the FIO NSF IUCRC, as well as the benefits that we expect to come out of the IUCRC. Then Mohan's going to talk about the background of the NSF, as well as IUCRC program information. And then I will talk about the current status of the IUCRC, how to get involved. And then at the end, we hope to have maybe 20 to 15 minutes of Q&A. All right, so in April of 2024, FIO initiated a new partnership with the National Science Foundation to better predict and ensure terrorism and catastrophic cyber risks. The new IUCRC will bring together government, academia, the insurance industry, and other stakeholders to stimulate research and develop solutions to provide insurers and other stakeholders with additional data and improved modeling and underwriting tools, methodologies, and practices for ensuring terrorism and cat cyber risks. The center's objectives include helping insurers to estimate risk with greater certainty, thereby improving insurance pricing, coverage, and policyholder uptake, contributing to the potential expansion of commercial reinsurance and capital markets to help support these risks, and informing the treatment of terrorism and cat cyber risks in government programs. So as Stephen mentioned in his opening remarks, this initiative is an extension of FIO's work administering the Terrorism Risk Insurance Program, also called TRIP, and is related to FIO's ongoing evaluation of a potential federal insurance response to cat cyber risks. While the IUCRC's research findings may be used to inform these government efforts, that is not the IUCRC's sole purpose. The primary goal of the IUCRC is to strengthen the resilience of the U.S. economy by expanding insurance coverage for these risks through improved insurance modeling and underwriting. So the new IUCRC originated in response to the serious risks terrorism and cat cyber incidents could pose to the resilience of the U.S. financial system. These are risks that fall within the right-hand column on the slide you see. As you know, insurance plays a critical role managing risk in U.S. society. Insurance provides a mechanism for spreading risk, which allows individuals and organizations to accept and manage risks that would otherwise be unacceptable. However, the benefits of insuring terrorism and cat cyber risks are not fully realized because of the challenges that come with attempting to estimate and provide insurance for these risks. Terrorism and cat cyber risks share common modeling and underwriting challenges, as well as the potential for high losses. Unlike for natural catastrophes, there's limited relevant historical data on terrorist attacks and systemic cyber incidents with which to model actuarial projections. Risk evaluation is further complicated in that losses from these risks have the potential to cascade across geographic and commercial boundaries. The potential for systemic losses limits the ability of insurers and reinsurers to use traditional risk transfer strategies that focus on the region, industry, or size of the entity insured, and requires the reevaluation of underwriting and risk management strategies to account for differing accumulation risks. These challenges produce significant uncertainties in the estimation of losses from catastrophic events and hinder the insurance industry's ability to cover these risks. But by improving catastrophe models, we can simulate a wider range of plausible terrorism and cyber events than those that are encompassed by historical experience. This will give insurers and reinsurers a better ability to estimate a range of direct, indirect, and residual losses for rate making and other coverage decisions. Improved modeling for terrorism and cyber may also help stakeholders to better assess the impact of modeled catastrophe risks and develop proactive risk management strategies. And with that, I will hand things over to Mohan.
Thank you, Shanda. And I will spend a little bit of time about the NSF and spend more time on the IUCRC program itself. As you might be familiar with, the National Science Foundation is at the forefront of advancing research in all areas of science and technology, promoting the progress of science, advancing national health, prosperity, and welfare are at the forefront of NSF's mission. In particular, in the context of this particular call for proposals, we call that as Dear Colleague Letters, that has been published by the NSF. Securing national defense, STEM education, that is science, technology, education, and math education for all, and spurring technological developments are very critical to the NSF's mission. So this DCL is closely intertwined with these goals. Also, I would like to give some data on NSF's involvement in all aspects with research and development. There are about 250 plus Nobel laureates that have been supported by the NSF at any given time. And there are 350,000 researchers, postdocs, that includes faculty and students who are supported by the NSF. And in addition to that, NSF supports more than 400 startups and small businesses every year. And NSF's annual budget is $11 billion. About IUCRC. The IUCRC Industry University Cooperative Research Program was conceived by the National Science Foundation uh, uh, after a message by the President to the Congress on Science and Technology back in 1972. And IUCRCs have been in existence since then. So it has been in existence for more than 50 years, and IUCRC program is one of the most successful programs at the NSF. What is IUCRC? IUCRC program is different from traditional funding mechanisms that is used by the NSF and other funding agencies, as well as industry sponsoring of research work at universities. On one extreme, we have fundamental research supported by the NSF and other research organizations. And the other extreme, and typically the fundamental research has long-term objectives, and the research can lead to tangible benefits in the long term. And as opposed to that, at the other end of the spectrum, we have high impact research that is supported by industry. And this kind of research is short-term based. It is based on a particular objective to address the challenges a particular industry is facing at the moment. And these are typically one-on-one collaborations between university and industry. As opposed to these two extremes, the IUCRC supports pre-competitive research. In pre-competitive research, the research problem that is addressed at the universities is common to multiple companies in the same sector. So these problems are of national interest, and these problems are at a stage where the local industry is not competing with each other. They are interested in addressing the same problem. And that is the beauty of IUCRC. And because it is of interest to multiple industries, and industries ranging from small to large industries are interested in addressing these problems, they all come together, work with the university folks and university faculty and students to address problems of common interest. The IUCRC is like a three-legged table. It is supported by the government, by the industry, as well as the other sectors, as well as the universities, other sectors as well as universities. The universities provide intellectual resources in terms of faculty and students, and the NSF provides administrative and management support. And the university folks are expected to have conversations with industry to create research problems or research projects which are of common interest to multiple industries. And they receive funding from multiple industries, and they pool this money together and fund research projects that will be carried out by university researchers, including faculty and students. So it is a program that is based on use-inspired fundamental research. It is jointly funded by the NSF and industry, and it is of high-impact research. And one of the key factors of IUCRCs is skilled workforce development. So in IUCRCs, in existing IUCRCs as well, students are involved in IUCRC programs right from the beginning till the end of the IUCRC that is carried out at the universities. Some data about IUCRCs. At the moment, there are about 35 active centers across the nation, and they are distributed among 120 plus universities. Many of them are IUCRC sites, and there are some MSIs as well. There are, in terms of industry member organizations, there are nearly 1,200 memberships from 800 plus organizations. This includes large firms, small firms, and federal agencies. And also IUCRCs, they have been in existence for more than 50 years. And the data I am showing here is the average numbers for the last 10 years. The IUCRC faculty, students, and also industry colleagues together have been able to have co-authored nearly 1,200 published articles. I will not read out all the numbers, but it is critical to note that there have been a large number of PhDs, MS, and BS students who have graduated through IUCRC supported programs. So how do you start an IUCRC? So we are at this stage now. I hope you can see my cursor. We are at this stage now. The university folks come up with the idea of creating a center. They have some conversations with industry and propose to the NSF. And they submit what is called as a planning grant proposal. And these planning grant proposals are typically due in June and December. So the next round is in December. And if the planning proposal is successful, then they enter what is called as a planning phase. During the planning phase, they work closely with industries to create projects that are of interest to multiple industries. And then they write a proposal to the NSF once again to create the center. At the end of the planning phase, they write a proposal to create the IUCRC, or the Industry University Cooperative Research Center. So in the research center proposal, they will describe projects that have been prepared in collaboration with industry. And again, it is submitted to the NSF. Like all proposals, it will go through the NSF's merit review process. And if selected, the center is created at one or more universities. Typically, an IUCRC is a multi-site, multidisciplinary center. As I mentioned in one of my earlier slides, the industry advisory board that is created out of all the members that are part of the center is at the core of an IUCRC. The industry advisory board is responsible for recommending new projects, mentoring faculty and students, and advising them on the progress on a regular basis. They can also get involved in bringing upstream research projects and recommend different research areas for the faculty and students to carry out at the university. And the existing industry base can also bring in new members to the center. And in addition to that, they are involved at least in 2 meetings every year. So they meet at the annual meeting as well as the semi-annual meeting. At the annual meeting, the industry board selects projects. The projects that will be carried out by university and that will be funded by industry will be presented to industry at these annual meetings. And the industry board members select projects which will be carried out by university at the university by faculty and students. And there will be a semi-annual meeting during which the industry advisory board can provide feedback and advise students and faculty further on the progress. And also they can bring in new projects at that point of time. So it is a mechanism where both industry and university work very closely with each other. And very importantly, in the process, students at universities, who are the future, get to work with industry colleagues on a regular basis, and they learn what are the problems the industry is facing. This is the funding model. The NSF provides $20,000 per site. So as I said, it is typically an IUCRC is a multi-site center. So NSF provides $20,000 per site during the planning phase, and NSF provides $150,000 during phase one. Phase one is for 5 years, and phase two or phase two plus, each one again is for 5 years. So there is the potential for a center to exist for 10 years after the planning phase. And during the phase one, universities are expected to bring in at least 3 industry members per site. So suppose you have a center with 3 sites, you are expected to bring in at least 9 industry members to the center. I will not read out the details here, but you can see as we move from phase 1 to phase 2, the NSF funding reduces, but the industry is in turn, the university is in turn expected to bring in more funding from the industry. The industry members sign an agreement that is common to all industries. Basically, the membership agreement is a framework for defining the major parameters of the partnership between the industry and university. And it talks about the annual membership fee structure, industry advisory board. One representative from each industry should be present at these meetings, and also for voting of projects. And the membership agreement also talks about the procedure for project funding, IP rights, and publication policies, and so on. So every industry member signs the membership agreement that is available at this NSF website, and also the federal agencies that are part of industries, that are part of IUCRCs, sign a different agreement that is called the interagency agreement. They sign and channel funds through the NSF to the centers. Again, this membership agreement, like the IUCRCs, has evolved over the last 50 years. At the moment, there are thousands of organizations, including federal agencies, which are part of IUCRCs, and they all signed this membership agreement. Now I will hand over to Shanda back to talk more about the timeline, etc., for the IUCRC program we have.
So NSF, with support from FIO, is marketing the project to encourage multiple high-quality proposals. We've had a lot of various different types of engagements so far, but our next webinar is on July 16th. So that's just next week. So in addition to that, this Thursday, July 11th, this Thursday, July 11th, NSF is hosting an office hour. So if you are on NSF's distribution list, you should have gotten an invite for that. And if you would like an invite for that and you don't have one, please reach out to Mohan. But on July 16th, the Academy will host another webinar for us. That webinar will feature a panel of terrorism and cyber insurance experts to discuss challenges in the current market and potential areas for research and improvement in modeling and underwriting. The Academy's Cyber Risk Committee Chair, Wanchin Chow, along with FIO Director Stephen Seitz, will open the discussion. I will moderate the panel, and our panel will include representatives from Moody's RMS, CyberCube, Guidewire, Aon, and Marsh. Again, if you haven't received an invite for that webinar next week, then please reach out to me or Mohan. And then in addition to these events, both FIO and NSF are happy to meet one-on-one with academic teams or stakeholders who may be interested in being part of the IUCRC. So this slide kind of gives a general idea of the timeline for this particular IUCRC. In April, we released our call for proposals, also called a Dear Colleague letter. And between April and September, we're just getting the word out about the IUCRC. in September of this year, preliminary proposals are due. And then in December of this year, planning proposals are due. And then after that, typically academic teams have about a year between December of 2024 and December of 2025 to prepare a full proposal, but a full proposal could be submitted earlier. And then we expect most likely, although there are always exceptions, that we would start the research, start the funding in 2026. All right, so as a reminder, the first step to getting involved is to read the letter that FIO and NSF released explaining the project and how to obtain more information. That letter is available in the slides that are available to you for download or on NSF's website. And we invite the academic community to review the opportunity to submit proposals, but industry will also play an important role in this initiative, as Mohan mentioned. So we do invite industry to read the letter as well and to reach out to FIO or NSF if you're interested in being involved. As Mohan mentioned, the IUCRC's work will be guided by an industry advisory board, which will ensure that the center's academic team is conducting research of relevance to the insurance industry. The IAB will be composed of industry members that will make recommendations on the center's research projects, the apportionment of resources, and the center's bylaws. IAB members will collectively fund the center's research activities by pooling their membership dues. My email along with Mohan and Jeff Stanton, also with NSF, are on the screen. Please reach out with any questions or if you want to discuss this initiative one-on-one. And before we open things up for Q&A, we want to emphasize the purpose of this work in combining the investments, expertise, and creativity of academics, industry, and government. We hope to discover innovative approaches that will accelerate improvements to terrorism and catastrophic cyber risk modeling and underwriting, and strengthen the resilience of the U.S. economy to the benefit of the American people. And with that, we can now begin Q&A, and the Academy's Lisa Slotsnick will moderate that.
Thank you. And we have a few questions in already, so I hope that if you have additional questions beyond these, you can keep typing them into the Q&A box. This first question, I believe, would go to you, Mohan, is we have a question from someone saying, can two groups from the same university apply for the IUCRC separately? For example, one group working with a single site and another group with a multi-site.
Yes, they can apply separately.
Okay,
yeah, but
great.
Please note that I had a table earlier and it is also available on NSF's IUCRC page. For the single site center, you are required to have letters of commitment from at least 8 industries when you go from planning to phase 1. Whereas if you have a 2-site center, you are required to bring in 6 letters.
Okay, so there's a heavier initial lift of certain kinds of information for a single site versus a multi-site.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is another question that's probably for both of you. Is there data available on risks and events that you would be sharing with any of the people proposing to set up an IUCRC?
I will let Shanda take that.
Yeah, I can answer that. So FIO does release various reports, and you're welcome to always read those. Those are public. However, the IUCRC is meant to be industry focused. So I would encourage anyone looking for data to talk to industry about where they're getting their data. and communicate with them about what information is needed, where that can be found in order to develop a proposal.
Okay. So you have to do a little legwork first on your own to try to find sources of available data. Is that partly what you're saying?
That's right, yes.
Okay, now we have another question that I think goes back to Mohan. It says, while we may know companies interested in being a part of this, you may also receive interest from other firms. Are you doing anything to help work as a matching service to bring together interested parties, maybe some from industry and some from academia here?
Yeah, typically IUCRCs are created by university faculty, university researchers. NSF does not do any matchmaking events to connect industry with universities because the idea is the industry researchers are expected to have conversations with industries to understand what challenges the industry is facing and what problems the industry is facing and what challenges they face internally to address these problems. So we would like the university folks to meet with industry colleagues, all the industries. Typically, to create an IUCRC, they have about 100 to 200 meetings to understand what the problems are. So we would like the university researchers to do that. But having said that, for example, the panel that we have the next panel we have is we'll have some industry folks as well in the panel that will be answering some specific questions related to industry challenges.
Okay, so there might be a little bit more ways, say for an industry person in the next webinar to get ideas of how to get matched to an academia person or vice versa.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would also add that FIO is happy to give academic teams ideas of various companies to reach out to. We've had companies tell us that they would like to be involved, would like to talk to any interested academic teams. So if you are needing help to figure out who to reach out to, you can just contact me and we can set up a meeting and discuss that.
Okay, so FIO has a little bit more information that could help with matchmaking than NSF at this point in time. Yeah. Okay, now we have another question here of, is there a limit on how many winning proposals there will be?
No, we don't have any limit at this point of time.
Okay. Here's another question. How many PIs or senior personnel from a site can apply? Can lecturers and non-tenured faculty be part of this?
If lecturers or non-tenure track faculty want to be PIs, we need a letter from their department head or dean describing why they approve of a non-tenured faculty to be a PI. Basically, NSF would like to see some stability. If a person does not a permanent employee of the university, they may or may not be able to handle the project. So a letter from the dean or department chair would help in alleviating that situation. And what was the first question, Lisa? There were two parts.
Yeah, let's see. How many PIs or senior personnel from a site can apply?
So in an IUCRC proposal, there are two kinds of PIs, right? So one of them is the set of PIs that are mentioned in the proposal to the NSF. First, when you create the planning, and then when you go from planning to phase one. And these PIs are mainly associated with the organization and administration of the center. On top of that, for each IUCRC, there are a large number of PIs that are principal investigators in individual projects that are funded by the industries. So there is no limit to that. So in fact, we would like the IUCRC leaders or the PIs of the NSF proposal to solicit projects from across campus. So anybody on campus can propose a project. And if that project is selected by the industry board, and that will be funded. And anyone in the university can be a PI for that. So there is no limit to that.
Okay. Now this is on the other side. Can a consortium be a member on behalf of its member companies? I think that's a more of a question is, can an individual represent companies? I think I would take that question.
Typically, no.
Can an association represent or be a member of an IUCRC? I think that's the question.
Okay.
Like an association of companies.
So if association of companies. So
like a trade association.
Well, if the trade association is a member of the IUCRC, then there can be one representative for the association.
Okay.
I would like a little more details about that. You can email me or communicate, and I will be happy to respond.
Okay, I think that may be a better way to respond to that question, to have a little more back and forth. What is the mechanism that other IUCRC efforts use to vote on research projects to fund? Is it based on a majority vote from the industry board, or are the votes weighted based on a financial impact?
Well, the projects are voted by the industry board. So the weight of a vote by an industry member depending on the funding level. So typically, let us say you have the membership amount is, let us say, $100,000. So $100,000 entitles you for one vote, weight of one for each project, and 50,000 is associate member, and that will be entitled, that the member will be entitled for a 0.5 weight on the project. And these projects are presented typically at an annual meeting. And the industry board selects these projects and they prioritize, and based on the voting, the top 5 or 6 projects will be selected depending on how much money is there in the pool.
Okay.
I hope I answered the question.
Okay. One question we've had is just trying to be able to contact, and I would like to remind people you should be able to download a PDF of this presentation within the your viewing of this webinar, and you'll be able to get the emails for Shanda and Mohan from that particular from the presentation itself. In addition, we do not send out the list of attendees of this presentation, because that was not the original agreement under which people signed up for this presentation. We have a few other questions. Does NSF or FIO provide a template letter for universities to reach out to companies to get involved?
There is a template letter on IUCRC, on NSF's IUCRC page.
Okay, so it's just hunting around on your website a little bit, and they should be able to find it. Yeah. We have another question. It goes into a little detail here, but it's basically asking, do you have ballpark stats of what fraction of the funds that go to the IUCRC usually stays with the lead site and which is distributed to the other sites?
So the NSF funds, suppose there are 3 centers. NSF provides 150K per site, and the sites can decide before they may write the proposal whether they want to use an equal distribution or equal distribution of that. So in the equal distribution, each site gets 150K. In the unequal distribution, the sites can decide, for example, the lead site gets 50K from each site. So lead site requests for 250K, and each of the other partner sites requests for 100K. So 250K is used per year is used by the lead site and the remaining 100K is used by the partner sites. And this money should be used, the NSF money should be used only for management and operations, whereas the industry support or industry membership fee will be used for carrying out the projects.
We have another question that says, someone's brainstorming a little bit. It's saying, seems like intelligence and law enforcement agencies might be interested in being something like an affected industry participant in this. Have you seen any of that in setting up these IUCRCs?
It really depends on what direction you're taking your research or you think you might want to go. But certainly talking to law enforcement or intelligence agencies or reading their reports might be something that you want to do, depending on, how you're moving forward. So there's lots of different. The call for proposals was very broad on purpose, to give researchers room to kind of choose their own path that ultimately leads to improved underwriting and modeling of terrorism and cat cyber risks. So I hope that answers your question.
And to the extent that these questions are not being answered as specifically, they can get in contact with both with the two of you subsequent to this situation, to this webinar.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And while the Academy is not in the middle of all this, we can forward on to you and any people's efforts at looking at matching along the way as well, if they've contacted us first. Though I think we would prefer they go straight to you, but we can act since we're here as well. Do you have any further, from the questions that I've asked so far from this list, are there any things that strike you as people are having questions about in getting their IUCRC type consortium together?
I kind of have a maybe something that Mohan can expound on is I've had a few teams talk to me about the benefits of submitting a full proposal and skipping the planning proposal phase. Could you talk a little bit about that, Mohan?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Shanda. There have been some questions to me as well about that. Our experience has been that centers that have gone through the planning phase have been more successful in recruiting industry members on a regular basis and sustaining the membership levels for up to 10 years. And centers there are only a few centers who have skipped the planning phase that have not survived past 2 or 3 years. What happens during the planning phase is, even though it is not clearly mentioned, I think we should make more publicity about it, is that during the planning phase, we have a boot camp. The NSF, although the funding from NSF is only $20,000 during the planning phase, NSF supports or funds boot camp for all the planning phase grantees. So all the planning phase grantees get together in a boot camp along with some experts or tutors who are just outstanding. And they spend about 4 or 5 weeks, mostly virtually, with the planning grantees. And they tutor them about talking to industry, understanding industry problems, and how to establish this rapport. And that has proven to be very successful. And that is one of the reasons why all the centers that have gone through the planning phase have been very successful in recruiting the required number of members on a regular basis. That has been our experience. So having said that, we do make it possible for uh, uh, sites and centers or consortium of sites to request for planning phase waiver, and you have to do that during the preliminary proposal deadline. You have to write a justification explaining what are your experiences in terms of collaborations with industry, how successful you have been in carrying out industry projects and having collaborations with industry. And that has to be described in your preliminary proposal, and that will be evaluated by the IUCRC program directors within NSF. And at the end of it, we will advise you to move ahead with the waiver or not.
Thanks, Mohan. I hope that answers some people's questions. I know there's been quite a bit of questions about that one. And the reason why I advanced the slide wasn't to end this early, but I keep seeing a request for my email. So this is my email. It's here on the screen, and along with Mohan's. So if you need that, you can write that down.
And keep in mind, you should be able to download these slides, so you'll have your own copy of them. It's in the software that you're viewing the webinar on as well. So we don't have that many more questions coming in. Are there some additional thoughts that you think people have issues with as they set up these collaborative consortiums?
I did have one question I thought was a good one. It was, is it favorably looked on, I guess, if you submit your proposal as a multi-site IUCRC versus a single site IUCRC? And maybe Mohan can speak to that.
Well, it entirely depends on the quality of the proposal and the experience the proposers have. Right, so it is possible that in a single site center, especially if the university is fairly large, they have different disciplines, they may be able to create a team of researchers who have expertise in different areas. For example, there are many IUCRCs where you need expertise in computer science, in engineering, in law, in finance, in social and psychological sciences, and so on. So you have to demonstrate that for the projects that you carry out, you have enough expertise and experience within your organization. And that is more likely to happen when you have multiple universities and you have all kinds of different expertise that is spread across the universities. And the other fact is the number of students and the diversity of students that you have. So again, with multiple universities, you can have students coming from different backgrounds, not only in terms of cultural background, but also in terms of areas, whether it is engineering, computer science, law, finance, etc., or other areas. So you will have diversity in terms of expertise, in terms of student participation, and also you will have geographic diversity, and you can attract industry members from different parts of the US. So, for example, you have a site on the eastern coast, and the site on the west coast, and a site in the middle. Then you have the ability to attract industries from Texas, from Boston, and from San Francisco. Whereas if you are coming only from the East Coast, you may be limited.
Okay.
And this is what we have seen in existing centers.
Okay, we have another interesting question here. Is once an IUCRC is set up, can researchers from an institution that is not an official site participate in the projects?
Yes, yes. So they can participate as collaborators. I did mention earlier about research projects, how research projects are funded. And we would like, IUCRC, NSF would like the leaders or the PIs of the directors of the center to solicit proposals from across campus. But they can also solicit proposals from colleagues outside campus, and we call them as external collaborators. So if they know of a person who is addressing a problem that is of interest to industry that the center director or site director is talking to, and they know there is expertise in another universities, they can ask that person to propose a project, and that project can be presented to the IAB board. And also there is a mechanism in the IUCRC concept to add a site after 1 or 2 years. You are a center with 2 universities. After 1 year, you realize there is another university that you want to add for whatever reason. Then you can write a site addition proposal. And we have been adding sites to existing centers on a regular basis.
Yeah, we had a follow-up on that question, whether someone can act as a subcontractor if they're from a different site.
No, they can actually propose a project, and their project may be funded by the money through the money that comes from industry fees.
Okay. And as you are talking about these, we have someone who says, if we get an IUCRC set up and some of the industry participants want to contribute additional amounts to that, than what might have been originally identified, is that okay?
It is possible, but the voting weight is capped at 2. So suppose the center has $100,000 as membership fee. The NSF recommends a minimum of $50,000 as membership fee, but in recent times, centers are saying 100,000 is the minimum we want for membership. Suppose you have an amount for membership, if you pay even more than twice that amount. So suppose it's $100,000 and the industry is paying, say, $300,000. Their voting is capped at 2.
Okay, so it doesn't change.
This is to ensure that one industry is not monopolizing all the projects that are carried out.
Okay, so it doesn't change, say, I'm going to use a word that's maybe not the right word, but I think it's what you're implying. The power structure of the agreement isn't changed, but an individual entity can provide additional funds if that's what the way this plays out.
Yeah, in fact, we have centers today where one member is paying $2 million, and their voting is capped at 2.
Okay. So that's an interesting thing to remember if you want to give more money. It will. So with thanks for some additional questions that came in at the end that we didn't get to, and I want to thank everyone for participating, our presenters in particular, and our people who send in questions. And we invite your input if you've been one of our attendees by clicking on the Take Survey tool on your screen. And thank you so much for your time today. look forward to the next webinar.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.